going to be discussing increasing the accessibility score for a syllabus being uploaded to Blackboard. So for my particular course, I really enjoy having my syllabus in Google Drive, so Google Docs. That way I can access it and share it and all that kind of great stuff. And I also like uploading it as a PDF, but if I have to upload it as a document, that's something I have to live with. I wanted to actually discuss the two different formats. One thing to note is that these two right here and also these two right here are being produced by the same doc. This right here, I printed it, I saved it here as a document or as a PDF. And as you can tell, they have different ratings. So one is kind of okay-ish, 64%, not great. And this right here is basically perfect. So let's talk about the differences. One thing that happens with the accessibility when you have it as a document, some of the things that it complains about are actually different things. It says that this table doesn't have, it's missing headings, even though I went through and tried to set up the headings in the Google Doc. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. Also a language set. I did not set that up. However, if I go over to the document, the PDF version, it doesn't even complain about that. It just says about there being a title. And for my particular document, I didn't choose to have the formatting with a title because I didn't like the way it looked based on the syllabus template that I was given. So for here, I could just write in Math 201 your algebra syllabus as my title. And this is going to fix the last of the issues with this, which is great. Okay, so let's go back over here and talk about some of the things that I would need to do in order to get this up to standard, at least for the rating. So let's go over to something that doesn't have things updated yet, talk about what's going on with those. So if I have a course over here, has like a standard setup, one thing it's going to complain about is headings between sections, or just headers in general. So this right here would be something that would be like a title up here. That's one of the things I complained about earlier. So in this syllabus, which is a different course, I just took that part right here, I highlighted it, and then I went over to this and I chose it to be title. And just so that it has like a nice title that when it's being read to them, they can actually interpret what it actually is, I actually wrote the word syllabus after it. The other main thing is the sections. So visually, if you look at this, it's bolded and it's grouped off in a different way. And you can clearly see this is a section. However, to do the formatting, you actually have to do something so that it's actually different. And this is the same thing that Blackboard is going to recommend if you have a Word document. The way you do it in Google Docs is you go over, you highlight it, you say, okay, I'm going to change this into not a title, but a heading. And one thing that's really nice is there are shortcuts for this. So I can just do Control Alt and then the number 1, and that's a level 1 heading. And then these are subheadings. So I'm going to hit Control Alt 2, and this is Control Alt 3. Control Alt 2 also because it has the same level. And I can just continue on. One thing you have to be careful about, like if I highlight this, I want to see if this happens. If I hit this, you see how it actually highlights multiple lines here? Oops. So what I need to do is enter a space here and then Control Alt 2. Now it's good. And I could just continue on through this whole file like that. One thing that they tell you about with to fix the complaint about the heading, which I don't know if it actually fixes it in Word, but it doesn't fix it in the Google Drive. Even though when I did some searching online for people talking about how to get that particular thing that I thought that the accessibility checker wanted, it didn't actually solve the problem. So, but I'll just show you it anyway. So if you go over to table options, and then you click row, then you click pin header rows. Now what this is going to do is if your table goes over multiple pages, then you see this right here also appears here. And apparently that's important for when you convert it to a PDF. That's what I read somewhere for the accessibility thing. Okay, the one other thing I want to mention for this, two other things actually, sorry. The first thing I want to mention is this particular thing here, One thing that happens is that the accessibility checker isn't going to complain about this, although if you're just listening to a screen reader, it will just say things that don't actually make what's actually there comprehensible. So if you, for instance, you go into Word and you ask this, you highlight it, and you ask it to read it, what it's going to do is this. I just checked it earlier. Grading policy, grading scale, Alex homework 15%, 90 to 100% A, discussions, quiz, assignments 10%, 85%, 95, 89% B plus, tests, and then it'll jump over here, and then it'll do this, and then it'll hop back and forth over and over and over again. And the reason is because these are all in the same line, and you can see what, based on the way I highlight it, is that it's going from one line to the next, and they're being grouped together. So what I did is I just copied this twice, in this different syllabus, which is a similar format. I just made them separate. Although like visually appealing, this is way nicer and it's more compact. This really should be a table if you want to have this kind of compact visual way of looking at it. If you want the screen reader to also be able to read it to you. But for the screen reader, this right here is just better because it'll actually just read it in a way that you can understand it. Another thing I did in another syllabus I had is I took a different template. And this template right here, the way it was organized was, that these right here were actually secret columns. So A, B plus, B, C plus, etc. This was one column, and then this thing over here was another column. So when I highlighted it, you could tell that it didn't go from A to 90 above, B 86, 89, B 80, 89, 80, 85. What it would do is it would say A, B, B plus, C plus, and then it would go 90 and above, 86 to 89, etc. So it's not highlighting in that nice kind of way, and I'm not entirely sure if that's an accessibility issue because it technically was part of its table over here, so you could maneuver around it through it. However, I personally, when I'm trying to copy things, if I want to paste this into an email or something, I think that having it as a separate line is just nicer. That's just my opinion. So, one thing I also wanted to mention was this thing with the syllabus, where if I click up a random syllabus, one of the things that it complains about is it says, oh, there are images here without a description. And then you go and look at the thing and there's no image here. And I'm just supposing it's some kind of artifact of something that's written there, or some kind of formatting or something that when you're converting it to a PDF that it is complaining about. So one thing I found that worked, because I had that same thing over here. I originally had it right here. So what I ended up doing is I just highlighted everything that was in between and then hit back and then reformatted it basically. Because there's something there and I didn't know what it was there, but somehow when I converted it to a PDF, it was being produced as an image, I suppose. And so if I just got rid of it and then went back and then it was gone. So this kind of issue right here will go away. So I see office hours and I see section. So let's go over to, this is 117. Let's go up here. It's complaining about this. It's complaining about this line here. So, and I don't want to have to add a description for a line. I don't even know if I can. Let's see. Will it let me do that? It's just easier to get rid of it. I can add a little space, but visually, it's nice that if you have a little bit of space, then you can actually see that they're separate. However, this is also classified as a section. So I see this right here. It's being captured in some kind of metadata or something like that. So this is my approach for trying to fix my syllabus. Like I said, I prefer to have it in PDF, not just because it's easier for me to get it to 100%, but also one thing I notice for me personally is that I prefer to have a PDF to be able to be downloaded from Blackboard, because if I'm using my phone, I'm using a computer that doesn't have Word doc downloaded on it, to be able to access my syllabus or any kind of file through a PDF is just way more user-friendly. It's more accessible to like most people who have technology limitations. And even if you have something like Word document on your phone, just having a PDF, you can open it on any web browser, you can open it anywhere. It's just the format is very portable. So that is all I wanted to say about this. I hope you have a nice day. Feel free to leave me any comments about any kind of feedback or ideas related to this accessibility topic for our syllabus, especially in Google Docs. Most of the ideas are the same as the ideas that this accessibility checker will recommend to me. So like how to add descriptions or something. It's going to go through all these different things. It's going to give me recommendations about Microsoft Word. If you just click Microsoft Word, some of these ideas, they do translate directly over into Google Docs. However, not entirely, and I had to like do some searching online and play around with it, see if I can get it to work. Anyway, so I hope you have a nice day, and bye.